This is Christine Brown, and while I have to listen to this podcast as my motherly duty, you have the choice not to. My sons sometimes say some naughty things when they're trying to be funny, but really, they're just being stupid. If you still want to listen, go right ahead. I am not your mother.
Welcome back to the Patriots Dynasty podcast, the only podcast, I would have to assume, where we are going back and rewatching every game of the Patriots Dynasty, starting in 2001. We have finished the 2004 regular season, so if you want to listen to those, you can go back and listen to that. But since the Patriots have a bye week, we thought we would kind of take, like we do traditionally, our bye week and do something a little bit different. So this time, Greg has convinced us to watch a random game that is important to him and really only him.
That's not true.
That's not true at all.
In this family?
Is a legendary game.
It's important to Dad. He was there too.
That might be. And it's
Sour grapes.
That's exactly what is important to me, because I was first on the list to go to this game, but I was overruled by McBrown, and he brought Greg instead, and it turned out to be an instant classic. Oh. So, Greg, what game are we talking about?
1998, Week 13, Patriots versus Bills. Also known as the Terry Glenn Hail Mary interference game, Ben Coates touchdown Vinatieri 2-point conversion game.
Spoiler.
Yeah, that's the game.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I don't know if anyone calls it that, though. I feel like the name is generally a little shorter.
It's a bit of
what would you call it, Steve?
I don't know. I don't remember this game that much. I remember being sort of excited, but I was pretty young.
Yeah, I remember being super fucking salty. I didn't get to go to this game.
Yeah, I'll bet Andy.
There was definitely a reason why, though.
I believe the reason why is because I had been Dad had taken me to a Red Sox game, and that was the last game that anybody had gone to. So,
well, you were probably the first one to go to a Red Sox game too.
Well, yes, I went to a Red Sox game before you guys were born. So, yes, that is correct.
There you go. And Craig was the first to go to a Patriots game?
Probably.
This is your first game, right,
Well,
Craig?
technically, I went to a Patriots game as an infant.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
In the early 80s, when our grandmother came over, Mom's mom. And from what I understand, this was the time when the Patriots were an absolute shit show. And they, early 80s. So it was all a bunch of controversy going around. I think there was something to do with one of the female reporters getting harassed in the locker room.
Yes.
And so the fans were passing around blow up dolls, like inflatable sex dolls around the crowd, like you do with beach balls. So our parents decided that was a good idea to bring Grandma to. Very religious woman.
From
very
English.
Very British.
Yeah, and so I think me and Grandma ended up in the car in the parking lot, and Grandma got to see a handful of people just peeing in between cars while the game was happening.
Well, they brought not just Grandma to that game; they also brought an infant.
Right? Yeah, I was there as well. Apparently, So a nice family outing, which I think kind of says a lot about the fact that we're doing this podcast now. Maybe
it can't be worse than an English soccer game, which I'm sure Grandma went to.
That's actually a good point, Greg.
Yeah, that's probably.
I heard way ruder and seen way more gross stuff at an English soccer game growing up.
You might be right. Yeah. It's definitely less violent.
And World War II.
Yeah, and also I think the one thing that American sports is missing are the chants.
Oh yeah,
Americans are not good at chanting.
That whole section was in that Patriots Dynasty book you sent me, Andy, from the guy who did the Tiger Woods one. I forget his name. Something super generic. Jeff?
Yes, it was.
Jeff Howe.
I don't know. I'm so bad at Jeff Benedict.
That book was sweet.
Yeah. If you haven't read it yet, highly recommend it.
Benedict.
Although I had a hard time getting through the 2007 season part of it.
Oh yeah.
But read it for the opening is
in there.
The opening is about Drew Bledsoe and his injury, and it's a fascinating read. So.
Which is good context for this game because he has an injury in this game too.
Correct. Yeah. So, Greg, tell us about what we got going on here in 1998. Set the scene for us. Paint us a picture.
6-5 Patriots versus 7-4 Bills.
Yes.
coming down the playoff scenario stretch here.
Correct.
Pat's trying to make the playoffs. I guess they had a super dramatic win on Monday night rolling into this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that game have a name?
I don't remember that
the
game.
Drew Bledsoe finger game.
Yeah. There you
this was the game where Drew Bledsoe engineered a last-minute come from behind touchdown drive while in the middle of the drive breaking his index finger in two places on the helmet of his somebody. They're not quite sure who. And still managed to throw a game-winning 20-something yard touchdown right at the end of the game.
Sean Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yes,
a great
they
catch.
showed a clip of it.
Yeah, we'll post the highlights of that.
This whole game was on YouTube, right?
This whole game was on YouTube.
Did you not watch it?
I did. I watched it in two different YouTubes. One was a little more stretched out.
Yes, but it had the whole game, and the one that was normal size didn't have the fourth quarter, which is the only reason we watched this.
What was that? Idiots.
Should we talk about some names? Because there's a whole shitload of throwback names. Let me just rattle some off here.
Hang on. Before you do that, I just want to touch on a bit more of the context. This was when the AFC East still had the Colts in it. And so there are 5 teams in the AFC East. 4 of them would make the playoffs this year.
Wow.
The Patriots were the 6th seed in the AFC at 9-7. Bills were the 5th seed at 10-6. Miami Dolphins 4th seed, also 10-6, and the New York Jets, the 2nd seed in the AFC at 12-4.
So this is like the last time the Jets were actually good.
Mm-hmm. This is probably the last time the Jets.
Yeah, because they have Curtis Martin, who's just running over everybody and just being an absolute beast for them.
Correct. That is absolutely.
They showed highlights of the Jets game earlier the day during the broadcast, and he has 140 yards.
Yeah.
Had some sick runs where he just runs away from everybody.
Yeah, that was peak Curtis Martin in 1998. So I believe that was the year that he left, correct?
It's got to be right around there, yeah.
It was. No, this was the year. This is the year after.
Yes.
And then they drafted Robert Edwards, who also was having himself a year.
This might be Pete Carroll's second to last year, right? Because it's Pete Carroll, the coach.
Pete Carroll is the coach. I don't remember exactly when he left, but yes, we can Google it.
Fact check it, bro.
All right, Greg, give me some names.
All right. Drew Bledsoe, Robert Edwards, Sean Jefferson, Terry Glenn, Ben Coates, Bruce Armstrong, Dave Wallabaugh.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Slade, a bunch of guys you've already heard of before. Willie Clay,
Chad Eaton,
Bucky Jones, Chad Eaton. And in the Bills, Doug Flutie, Antoine Smith, Sam Gash, Andre Reed, Eric Moulds, Ted Washington, Bruce Smith, Sam Cowart.
Yeah.
Thurman Thomas is on this team.
Yeah.
So this is like some of the remnants of those 4 Super Bowl Bills teams.
Yep.
I thought it was crazy how many players in this game and also in a lot of the games like we're watching this year.
Really?
I mean, it's not that crazy.
Or even last year, 2003, Ty Law, Antoine.
Yeah.
Brewski.
Yeah, it's amazing how much overlap there is with, Doug Flutie played for the Pats. Sam Gash also played for the Pats. Mm-hmm. Ted Washington and Antoine Smith would go on to play for the Pats.
Doug Flutie.
Yeah, he'd come for the Pats.
Yeah,
he actually was already on the Pats once, right?
Yes, he had played for the Pats already.
They showed that clip of him with the sick flow. He had a fucking...
Yeah. They actually showed a stat where Doug Flutie was undefeated at Foxborough Stadium coming into this game.
Yes.
He was 3-0 at Boston College in 1983, 2-0 Boston College in 84, 4-0 with New England in 88, and 1-0 in New England in 89. And this is
undefeated, 10-0.
10 years out, yeah. So 10-0. So this would be his first loss in Foxborough Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, Doug Flutie's a shit. Everyone loves him.
Doesn't get no damn respect.
This game was very watchable because you were rooting for Doug Flutie a ton, even though he's the Bills quarterback.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I can't be mad at him, even though he
plays out of his mind in this game too.
He does, yeah.
He throws for 340 yards, 350.
What we say? This is week 13, and they said he's been sacked 5 times on the season.
He's also 36.
Yeah, he's not a spring chicken.
Wait, in this game, he's 36 years old.
36.
Oh, that's right, because he spent all that time in the Canadian
The
football,
CFL, yeah.
right? Yeah. He must have been lit in the CFL, right? Just running around people.
I believe he was like their Michael Vick.
Yeah, for sure.
He won the comeback player of the year this year.
Yeah.
No way.
And then wait, was this the year that, or was this later on where? No, it must have been later on where they had the Brad Johnson stuff and like they kept trying to start Brad Johnson.
The next year with the loss to Tennessee with the Music City Miracle.
Right. So this is the last time the Bills are good too.
Yes.
Until very recently. Yes. That's tough.
All right. So the other couple names for you, the commentators, Vern Lundquist and Randy Cross.
Did you hate them, Andy?
Of course I did. But speaking of commentators, I would just like to share something for you boys that I think you might like.
Oh, geez.
We have a birthday today.
1971, the St. Louis Cardinals drafted a fierce 290-pound competitor named Dan Deerdorf. Deerdorf headed an offensive line that yielded the fewest sacks in the NFL for 5 straight years during the 70s. This relentless right tackle punished would-be defenders, whether the Cardinals chose to run or pass.
I always thought that I went through my years in the NFL like I had blinders on, like I was a racehorse. I saw nothing but the upcoming game and my upcoming opponent. I really had the ability to rule everything else out and make it inconsequential.
Deerdorf would be denied only 1 Pro Bowl appearance from 1974 through 1980, securing his place in pro football history.
So there you go. Happy birthday to the legend who is Dan Deerdorf.
Is he in the Pro Bowl? The Hall of Fame?
No.
I think we talked about he's in the Hall of Fame for broadcasting, right?
The Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Which is even worse.
For Andy, it's way worse.
I guess he kept those blinders on while he was watching these games that he's commentating.
I love it.
So yeah, that was just for you boys. I knew you'd like that.
That's such bullshit too. Kept the blinders on. Like, give me a break, dude.
He was clearing some holes in that highlight clip, though.
They were okay. I mean,
he was blowing people
70s
up.
Football.
Oh, yeah. 70s football. Yeah,
they probably didn't even let black people play back then, Steve.
Jesus Christ. Fuck. All right. Let's talk about this game then. Greg, actually, I need to ask you this. Did you watch the game?
Parts of it. I watched the beginning and then the last. Well, I obviously watched the game live, so no big deal. You guys probably have to watch on the TV.
That little fucking TV.
50-yard line, no big deal.
So he didn't watch it. Is the short answer? He watched the highlights and the notes.
I don't need to watch it again. Once you've seen it live, nothing.
All right, fine. What do you remember? What do you remember actually from this game?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Andy! You should have. This crowd, TV doesn't do it justice. What it was like being there.
They were loud.
It was incredible.
Old Foxborough. They got rowdy.
50-yard line. I don't know where we got tickets from, but
how far up were you?
I don't know, like
nosebleeds,
lower bowl.
Oh no, shit! So they were like really good seats.
Did Foxborough even have lower bowls? But
it was
really good seats. Yeah, me and Dad.
I feel like I sat in those same seats for the Cardinals game, my first Patriots game.
Yeah,
in 2000 and like 2000 and what?
8.
8? Yeah, 2008.
Yeah, it was the Matt Castle season.
Dad went a decade before taking me to a Patriots game.
I mean, that feels about right too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Middle son. Who cares? I took him to a Bruins game. That's fine.
Well, you weren't
as emotionally invested as I was, though, Steve.
For sure. Yeah, you were way into it.
Oh yeah,
I was Bruins at that point.
Yeah,
because I went to the game in '97 as my first Bruins game at the Fleet Center.
Yeah,
yep,
makes sense.
And Andy was a Red Sox son. Andy is a Red Sox son. I was a Bruins son. You were the Patriots son.
This is true. Yeah. I got pulled out of. Dad told me 5th grade. He took me to a Red Sox game.
That's sweet. Taking you out of school.
Yeah, like three rows up from like just behind home plate, like where the netting is, just outside the netting. I think he got him from a guy at work.
I'm gonna do that
I
once
turned
a
to him
week.
and said, "Dad, this is the best day of my life." And he still remembers that and brings it up.
I used to say that too. I used to say this was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
No, I was like, yeah, that's fine. I did write a book about it though. I have a book I wrote about the trip to, and I have the I still have the ticket.
Hell yeah. The things you remember. So take your children to sporting events, even if they're the 83 Patriots and they're passing around.
Yes. Blow up dolls. Yep. Then your conservative British grandmother has to leave with the infant and go sit in the car while your parents finish the game and has to watch people just take pisses around her.
Tough life.
That's tough.
Speaking of football.
The game was sweet though. I don't blame mom and dad for not leaving because this game was awesome.
Yeah. This isn't the one.
Never mind.
Yeah. So this game, it was kind of the peak Drew Bledsoe, I would say. This is where he kind of made his name as the Patriots' savior at the time, because he was that larger than life, playing with, I think, pins in his finger at this point. Had it bandaged up, and the commentators were talking about how he didn't even keep his hand warm because it was getting cold during the game. Greg, how cold was it?
43 degrees.
How cold did it feel?
Do you remember being cold?
No. I was shit-faced drunk, though.
You were like 7.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the Denver game.
I was drunk on love of the game, Andy.
Of course. Yeah. That feels
Nothing
right.
could have made me cold.
But yeah, so and like I said last week, he had on Monday night against the Dan Marino Dolphins, he had engineered a comeback with a broken finger, and Pete Carroll tried to call a timeout, and Drew Bledsoe didn't even notice, and he kept on going and threw the winning touchdown.
Or ignored him. That's what they said in the
maybe.
broadcast, which I really appreciated. I hope he ignored him.
So do I.
So,
If we ever have Drew Bledsoe on, we'll ask him if he ignored Pete Carroll on that play. And threw a touchdown to Sean Jefferson. Some great names. And then did not practice this entire week, they said. Threw some warm-up passes just to see if he could in the pregame warm-ups. And what did they say? Steve, do you remember what they said about it? About how they were watching it?
No, I heard they didn't take a snap all week, but not what they said.
Yeah, but then they're like, everybody was watching his pregame warm-ups like, I don't even remember what it was.
Oh, yeah.
There was some awful analogy, but whatever.
It's good radio there, Andy.
They broadcast it on Instagram. Everyone was very.
I'm trying to set Steve up for like some interesting knowledge, but apparently he didn't fucking watch the game either. So
I did watch the game. I watched most of it. I watched until that YouTube video ran out, and then I watched the last 2 drives.
Oh, that's
where
fair.
the Bills scored and the Patriots scored.
Yeah,
If my first game I had to watch Scott Zolak play, I probably wouldn't be here on this podcast right now.
So,
That's not true.
So
Andy dragged us all in.
I went back and looked at the Boston Globe for the day before and the day after the game, or the day of the day after the game.
Sweet.
And there was an article about like, is this Scott Zolak's time to shine? Because this was his contract year. His contract is going to run out at the end of this year, and he's going to be a free agent. And he's had like 0 starts basically up until this. He's just played like mop-up duty. And so, is this his time to show that he can be a starting quarterback and go make some starting quarterback money in free agency?
Spoiler alert, the answer was no. It was not his time to shine.
Correct.
In fact,
well, he
that
does
would become 30 years later when someone caught him snorting lines on fucking live radio.
What? I did not hear about this.
Oh, well.
How long ago was this? I don't remember it either.
Don't let it leave this podcast. We'll beep that out.
Bleep that out.
True.
And he only plays 1 more year after this, so maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, I think Greg just cracked the case. But in true Drew Bledsoe fashion, his first pass of this game deep bomb floated to the free safety, picked off.
Oh yeah, it was like 2-on-1. He threw it to the one guy.
Yeah, it was,
Bro.
Yeah,
a can of corn with that.
I mean, he's got a broken finger. You really can't.
Yeah, it floated on him, and the second one probably should have been picked off, but that floated on him too, so it ended up out of
It took him a little while to find the touch, but he found the touch perfectly.
But when he did,
on
yeah.
the game winner. Come on.
Absolutely. So, this was a quality game. It's kind of started off a little slow. It was all Bills early, and apparently these two teams had played 2 weeks before, and the Bills had basically just stomped the Patriots. They rushed for 213 yards or something ridiculous. And so everybody's like, oh, they're going to do it again. There's Thurman Thomas and I don't know if he's a rookie, but a young Antoine Smith, like prime Antoine.
He was awesome.
Yeah. And he was your typical Antoine that you would expect, that you probably remember from 2001. Right?
Exactly. He's the same guy, except faster.
Yeah. Yeah. But, he's the one, he was the kind of their short yardage back. And at this point, they're using Thurman Thomas as like the third down back kind of guy.
Thurman Thomas is like, it's going to be one of his last seasons.
I think he goes one more season with the Dolphins after this. This is his last season with the Bills, and then he's done.
I did not know Thurman Thomas played for the Dolphins.
1 year, he did, yes.
Where else did Ben Coates play? Trivia.
Oh, I don't know.
Hint, he won a Super Bowl with his team.
What?
The Broncos?
Nope.
The Ravens.
The Ravens.
Oh.
Also, Sam Gash won a Super Bowl on that same team.
Oh, shit.
No shit.
Good trivia.
That is great trivia.
I like that. Nicely done. Speaking of Ben Coates in this game, though.
Wait, so how many rings does Ben Coates have? He has just the
one.
The one.
Just the one with the Ravens? Wow.
Yep. Did the old Ray Bork spend a shit ton of time in New England, then leave and immediately win a championship?
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm sure everybody was happy for him at the time.
Well deserved.
Yeah, you got to do it.
For sure.
Speaking of Ben Coates, though, in this, he had himself a game in this.
Hell yeah.
Was, pre-Gronk, and he looked like it. But the commentators were all about how much he pushed off.
Yeah.
Talking about how the defensive backs don't know if they need to, train in Taekwondo or lift weights or whatever to be able to cover Ben Coates, because all he does is run at defenders, hit him, bounce off, and then turn around because he's open.
Yeah.
I have a take on tight end names.
Okay.
Best names in football now. I got a couple written down here before you answer. Single syllable, sick last name. Okay. Ben Coates.
Yeah.
Jay Reamersma.
That's the one I was going with.
Rob Gronkowski.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Fryermuth. Gary the Barnyard Dog Barnage.
Who the fuck is that?
Okay.
Played for Cleveland he had one good fantasy year, and I just loved the name the Barnyard Dog.
That's really good.
Barnage.
Ron Rutledge.
Yeah, dude. Tell me those aren't the
Jermaine Wiggins.
I still think fullbacks have better names.
Ooh,
Zach Strong, Sam Gash,
Natron Means. Natron Means went to the same college as Ben Coates.
What college did they go to?
Livingstone College.
All right. Livingstone.
Where's that?
North Carolina. It's HBCU.
All right.
Where in North Carolina is it?
Don't know.
Don't you live in North Carolina, Greg?
Yeah, I never heard of it. I read it, but I didn't. It did not. I didn't even know Livingstone was a college here. I don't even know if it still is a college here, for being honest.
Well, it sounds like we need a stat check then.
He's from Hendersonville, though, which is a pretty popular place. I've been there.
All our New England Patriots fans will know all about Henderson, North Carolina.
Was that
Patriots fans got fans everywhere?
Hey, do you know how many Patriots fans are in North Carolina, Andy?
Yeah, like 7.
No. Dude, we have a bar.
Oh my God.
Who's the old Patriots player that lives there all the time, Greg?
Yeah.
Antoine Harris.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. NFL legend.
Antoine Harris. If he wants to come on the pod, we will definitely have Antoine Harris on the pod.
No, you just fucking slam North Carolina like that.
Yeah, you're from there. I'm slamming you, not North Carolina.
Fuck you, Andy.
North Carolina's great.
Natron means
business. Natron refried means.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Ben Winter
I prefer that over
also,
Natron means business.
An all-time Bermanism.
Natron refried.
Also, I tried to look up if he had one for Sam Gash.
Oh no. And
Nothing out there.
So are you?
So what'd you come up with then, Greg?
Right, exactly.
Nothing.
I need a list.
Absolutely nothing.
I know you
Mom.
have a list.
I didn't come up with a single thing, Mom.
All right. Speaking of running backs, let's talk a bit about Robert Edwards, because he was supposed to be, and I think this specific year, 1998, he was the second coming of Curtis Martin.
Yeah.
1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns.
I thought that Robert Edwards was my original David Givens.
Yeah, I can see that until he got hurt, and then you cast him
those
aside.
guys. I was trying to find the guys that everybody loved, but that were like up and coming, and I was really in on both those guys.
Yeah, that would have done it.
Because he was good this year. He was okay in this game, but like if Robert Edwards had played in today's game, he'd be really good. You know,
He'd catch the ball.
he could catch the ball. He's pretty shaky in the hole. He
Mhm.
just didn't have that like Antoine Smith type power,
That's true.
which Curtis Martin sort of did.
The first round
Well-
draft pick out of Georgia.
Yeah, he also started his career with a touchdown in 6 straight games. His first 6 games, he scored a rushing touchdown.
13 touchdowns for rookies, no joke.
No,
Absolutely.
you got to look. He's a
1,500
Pro Bowl.
yards.
Well, he's
No,
clearly Pro Bowl because he went to
didn't
the
go
Pro Bowl.
Right, and then just didn't.
He didn't
return
go to
from
the Pro Bowl.
Wait, how did he shred his knee?
Yeah, he
It was
Pro
like
Bowl.
some fucking event. Like he wasn't actually on the Pro Bowl roster. He just went to this fucking beach party Pro Bowl thing that they were doing.
No shit.
Oh no!
Yeah.
shit. I thought he was
actually made the
on
Pro
the
Bowl.
Pro Bowl,
No.
and that's how he shredded his knee.
Makes it
No,
even
I-
worse. He didn't even make
That
the
makes
Pro
it
Bowl.
way worse.
Oh, that's tough. That is tough.
Do you want to hear what his injury was?
I doubt it, but okay.
I don't know.
It was
How gross is it?
So there's also some interesting names. So the guy that threw him the ball was noted dickhead Charlie Batch.
Oh shit!
Wow.
Threw a fucking
So it's his fucking fault.
a Joe.
If he threw him a
Flacco
better
jump-
ball, he probably doesn't.
Yeah. And Charles Woodson went up for it. It was like he got tangled up with Charles Woodson on a beach. Obviously, we all know the story.
Yeah.
Came down, hyperextended his knee. He tore his ACL, his MCL, and his PCL, and partially tore his LCL.
What the fuck?
I didn't
Yeah,
know there was
he
that
had
many
an
ligaments
LCL.
in there.
Yeah.
What are those?
That's
Letters
basically
mean?
every
That's it.
ligament in your knee.
Oh,
He had major nerve damage, and the worst part was that he sliced an artery in his knee. So
No
they were
way.
talking about amputation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
So they said
Serious
if
shit.
the sutures hadn't held on the way to the hospital, because they sutured it up,
Yeah.
that they would have amputated and he never would have walked again.
Holy fuck.
Oh,
Yeah.
If we see him again in
Yeah, he comes
with the
back.
Chiefs, yeah.
No, with the Dolphins. I think it was like 02 maybe.
Dude, he came back,
03.
played a couple seasons in the NFL, didn't really catch on, then went to Canada and 2,000-yard seasons for
Really?
Montreal Argonauts.
Fuck yeah. Good for him.
Yeah.
No way.
That's
Holy
exciting. Oh,
He
good
came
for
back on the Pats and then they immediately cut him. Bill
Well,
Belichick did.
you got to give him another look.
him. Yeah, well, you know.
If going through that rehab, that's got to be an absolutely insane rehab.
2
I mean,
years.
that was-
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's got to be so painful. Like, oh,
well, in the book that Steve was talking about, they're talking about the Drew Bledsoe injury, and it was he basically had blood in his lungs.
yeah.
And so they may have usually when things like this happen, you have to like cut open the pec muscle to go in and like kind of clean things up. Or what maybe it wasn't in the lung, but it was like around the lung, so it was like collapsing the lung. And so what they tried to do is basically just like they put a tube in and pumped the blood out of his lungs and back into like where it was supposed to be. And basically if that didn't work, they would have had to like cut in and like go get it, but then that would basically be the muscles that you use to throw a football, and he never would have played again.
Yep.
So he was like inches away from never playing football again.
That's how
Meanwhile,
that was
fucking
open.
Kyrie Irving's taking like 6 to 7 maintenance days a season. It's like, Jesus Christ.
You're just gonna not get vaccinated so he doesn't have to play
Yeah.
half the games.
Yeah, he doesn't even get to play games in Brooklyn anyway.
That's why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Drew Bledsoe gutted this game out though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
looked
like
good
that
doing
was
it.
his. No one ever said Drew Bledsoe is not tough. That guy was a tough motherfucker.
He really was.
He just took too many shots, like Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, he was just one of those guys who. Ben. Yeah, he just. I feel like his pocket awareness always let him down.
That's a good point.
And then he would try to do too. I mean, how many? He took a couple of sacks. He took 4 sacks in this game, and I'd say at least 2, maybe 3 of them were preventable. Where he could have just thrown the ball away, but he's like waiting for something to happen, takes a sack. Like, oh, come on, man.
Their offensive line wasn't great besides Dave Wallabaugh. All-time New England name right there. Dave Wallabaugh.
I have the offensive line. Let's take a look.
Sounds
Bruce
like
Armstrong.
Yeah, he's also on the private
Hall of Famer, yeah. Well, yeah, it was him versus Bruce
back
Smith.
9 of his,
yeah.
They've been going at it for fucking decades.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Damian Denson, who I believe was starting his first ever game at left guard. Dave Wallabaugh, Todd Rucci, and Max Lane. You remember Max Lane?
Yeah.
Also a great name for an offensive lineman, Max Lane.
No.
You don't want to run behind a guy that's Max Lane? Fuck yeah.
No. You want pass rush against a guy who's Max Lane.
Exactly.
Lane right to the quarterback.
No. Yeah. You want to run behind that.
Maximum lane.
But Drew Bledsoe in this game, 28 of 43, 246, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 4 sacks. Not too shabby. Outplayed by Doug Flutie, though.
How many rushing yards did Robert Edwards have? Because it was pretty much on Drew, I feel like.
13 carries, 40 yards.
Yeah, it's all Drew. They had Sam Adams, who's an absolutely massive.
Ted Washington.
Yeah. Ted?
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Armstrong, though, versus Bruce Smith.
Yeah. Old school.
Because this is the peak of their battles.
Is it?
Yeah, Bruce Armstrong made the Pro Bowl in 90, 91, 94, 95, 96, and 97.
Okay.
And we're currently in 98. Bruce Smith, his fucking career is insanity. Yeah. He made the Pro Bowl in 87, 88, 89, 90, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. And first team All-Pro in 87, 88, 90, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97.
Yeah, Bruce Smith was outrageous.
So this is on the backside, the back 9 of their careers, though.
Like, not
both of them.
Really, like coming in, they're about to go into their back 9, but they both have made the Pro Bowl the last 4 years.
Yeah.
For both
Bruce
of them.
Smith, from 86 to 98, there was 1 year where he didn't top double-digit sacks.
All-time leading sack leader, 200 sacks.
He wasn't that big in this game, though, right?
No, he didn't do a lot.
Bruce Armstrong.
He got Armstrong, half a sack.
Our Bruce got him on this one.
Yeah. In 1990, he had 19 sacks. 19.
He had an even 200 for his career. And to put it in reference of like a modern day player that you'd recognize, Dwight Freeney had 126 and a half. Yeah. So 200
expert.
A fucking ridiculous number.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah.
The Bills always had good players. Mm-hmm. I mean, their receivers in this game were so good. You know, They had so many awesome names in their receiver. It was like Andre Reed's 200th catch, some shit like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
No, 220 games for Andre Reed.
Oh yeah.
So
and had Eric Moulds on the other side, who was being covered by Ty Law. And on the first play of the game, Ty Law went over and dapped him up. And we saw him kind of like shake hands before the first play, just kind of,
He had that absolutely sick catch.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing ground.
80-yard touchdown.
Yeah, the 85-yard touchdown where he kind of one hand snagged it between Ty Law and the safety.
Yes.
And outran the other safety for an 85-yard touchdown.
But he caught it like it wasn't like the tip of the ball hit his palm. It was like the flat part of the ball hit his palm. He just kind of like grabs it like a bunch of bananas and then just runs.
Just snagged it one hit.
And then he's just gone.
Yeah.
Just outruns everybody. Ty Law's busting ass, can't catch him.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Ty Law, this is, I think, Greg, peak Ty Law as well.
Ty Law is absolutely
7 picks coming into this game already, and it's week 13.
Yeah.
So you got to pick every other game. Did not happen in this one.
Their D-line was kind of nobodies. The linebackers had some names. secondary had 2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
And then some no names. Steve Israel. Don't remember him at all. I don't remember that guy. I admit, he was all over this broadcast.
Oh, you remember him, dude? He's the guy that was from Jerusalem.
Yes, Greg. Oh, yeah. Now that you say
that guy.
There's also Mike Lombardi in the halftime show.
Oh yeah,
Who's that?
He is. I think he's come full circle and is back in the media. But he was on the Patriots front office.
He was Patriots general manager, something along those lines. Yeah,
he was definitely high up in the Patriots front office.
Yeah, he was.
It's kind of crazy to see him on the halftime of a 1998 show.
Right, I know. Yeah,
and the halftime show was way better because they actually showed highlights. You know,
they
went game by game and showed some highlights from the important ones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we didn't have Keyshawn Johnson just running his mouth for fucking 35 minutes.
It's not even 35 minutes. It's like 35 seconds. They go right back to commercial.
Yeah, just making up what he's going to say on the spot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That sounds about right. One of the other big notes in this, I don't know if you guys noticed, was there was a huge push to bring back replay.
Yes.
So I looked that up real quick, and apparently, like, instant replay had been around for a long time. But it was disbanded in 1991 because the technology basically couldn't keep up with it. It wasn't great. So there seemed to be a lot of push. And Steve, going back to your point of like they actually showed replays at halftime, the highlights, a lot of them revolved around here's a play that would have been overturned if there was replay, but it wasn't. And it affected the game in this way. It worked out in the Patriots' favor, I would say, in this game because the Patriots on their game-winning drive had a borderline completion to Sean Jefferson. Greg, was he in?
Borderline, he wasn't even close.
Questionable. It was close.
The problem is you can't tell with such crappy video quality.
Well, that's what
I'm saying.
Can't
even tell.
Yeah, with the feed that I had, I'm like, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to bring it to Greg and be like, hey, look, you can tell that this pixel, his foot is in bounds, but you couldn't tell because both feet were 1 pixel. So I'm not actually sure, but there was such an uproar that I assume
it looked pretty clear to me that it didn't have his feet in.
Of course
it's
it
so
did,
hard
because
to
you're
tell.
a pessimist.
Yeah.
And you hate the Patriots for some reason.
I said I couldn't tell.
Maybe you guys should get your eyesight checked because it seemed pretty obvious to me. Not that.
Yeah, well, you were sitting at the 50-yard line. We're watching it fucking YouTube.
That's
4
true.
years later.
The whole stands were a chatter about it.
I bet they were.
Bet.
Fucking prick.
I could see it from my seat, dude.
Instant replay will be brought back in 1999, the season after this. Probably because of, I think, all the focus on all the plays that would have been overturned if there was replay.
Joke's on them. Just go watch that Saints NFC Championship game.
Yeah, doesn't fucking matter.
Right? If this play had gone differently, maybe the game would have gone differently.
We've come full circle again.
Yeah, that shit was so... There was instant replay, though, and they still didn't even look at it.
Yeah.
That was fucking crazy.
That was tough. So let's talk about this fourth quarter, because this is like, if you're going to watch a game or you're not going to watch highlights, just watch the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 10 minutes left.
Yeah, Bills marched down basically from the start of the fourth quarter onwards. Marched down on a, 14 play, 67-yard touchdown drive. Helped out by 2-3 defensive penalties. A couple of pass interferences that were a little ticky-tack.
And a sweet Doug Flutie scramble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
On third down to reach and stretch and just barely make the line.
Yeah.
On a 3rd and 9.
Yeah.
After they had
and he
3rd
gets
and 25.
9 and a quarter.
He's the man. He can't not love Doug
stretching
Flutie
all 5'6" of him out to get that first down.
Yeah.
Perfect. So and the touchdown pass to, who was it to? Andre Reed, the diving catch at the back of the end zone. It was super nice.
Yeah, it's a nice play.
Patriots get the ball back and miss a field goal. Adam Vinatieri missed field goal. So if Connor, you're listening, that's your boy. To be fair, why they're going for a field goal down 4 points? That's, Pete Carroll. But the Patriots managed to hold the Bills to punting at the 2-minute warning. So the Patriots get the ball back with I think a minute 52 left after the punt. And drive 10 plays, 82 yards with the play that we just mentioned, the questionable fourth down conversion, where Sean Jefferson, I'm going to say gets both feet down because I'm a Patriots fan, and leaning out of bounds catches the ball for the first down.
That was on fourth down.
That was fourth down, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
With a running clock, the Ben Coates had caught the third down. No, he missed. No, he caught the third down, got tackled in bounds.
Yeah.
And they had no timeout, so they had to run, set, and then run the play real quick.
Yep. And just barely converted it. And then, I don't know if it was next play, a couple plays later.
No, there's 4 seconds left after that.
That's right, yeah. So it was exactly the next play. So they had one shot at the end zone, through the end zone, and there was a pass interference call in the end zone on Terry Glenn, whoever the defender was. Doesn't matter.
Terry Glenn had a good look at it, and the dude got pushed right in the back. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
You think it was a good call?
Even on the crap fucking video, yeah.
I think it was a blatant pass interference, but you never call that. It doesn't matter.
Dude. Come on.
You don't think that was a pass interference?
No, I didn't think it was on a Hail Mary, dude.
Dude, he done a Hail Mary. It's from the 20-yard line. It's a 20-yard pass.
Yeah. Dude, look at the.
Yeah, I get there's a shitload of people there. There's a lot of traffic there, but it's not like a fucking absolute bomb from midfield where it's in the air forever.
It's a jump ball.
Bledsoe fucking zinged that thing, and it was right to Terry Glenn, and he got pushed right in the lower back, and he bent out.
I love that Steve's coming to my side. He used to be like,
that's definitely a PI.
Not taking sides.
You don't want to do that. Fucking play the ball. He didn't play the ball. He pushed the receiver right in the back, and the judge was right there at the end zone line because that's where the play was, because that's where he's got to see. And he sees the guy just get pushed right in the back. Of course,
he was right there.
You want to hear a quote from Ty Law himself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I was them, I'd be ticked off too. You never see that call on a Hail Mary, which it was. I know where they're coming from. These officials are making way too many calls. It's getting worse and worse every week. Ty Law, he's on the Patriots, and he's completely agreeing that that's a bullshit call.
Imagine that in this day and age. Imagine the social media firestorm with that kind of comment.
Twitter would melt down.
Well, Belichick would never allow that. That's a Pete Carroll kind of comment. You know?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
B, the rules are probably different back then as well, where you saw in this game, just rewatching it, how much they're glorifying hits and stuff. It's just like a little out of date.
There was a lot more hitting in the defensive backfield, just generally.
Yeah.
But there was still, I think even on the Bills touchdown drive, there was still some are you really going to call that? Like this late in the game, you're going to throw the flag there?
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
They had been calling it tight on the Bills drive, so.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a pass interference on a Hail Mary, though, outside of this.
I feel like
I guess I'm saying it's not a Hail Mary.
And I've seen some pretty egregious tackling of players on Hail Marys.
Well, the Eagles Super Bowl when they tackled Gronks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was one.
That one's egregious. The one where they tackled Gronk in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And I wasn't even that mad about that because I was like, it's fucking Hail Mary. That's what you got, you know?
How far was I feel like it wasn't a Hail Mary, though.
It was 30 yards.
30 yards is not that long.
Yeah, but Steve, it's a jump ball, right? It's a throw it up and everybody jumps to try and catch it.
Well, every ball Bledsoe throws is a jump ball.
It's true, but you just cannot call a pass interference.
Bro's got a broken finger, of course. I mean, he actually slung this one in there. He was slinging it.
Either way, Bledsoe came back and fucking...
So you can talk all you want, and this is the same goes to listening to Chief fans talk about, if he didn't line, if what's his face didn't line up off sides and that game's over. It's the game, the Patriots didn't win it on that play. You can still make the stops. You can still make the stops in overtime. So the Bills had one play. All they had to do was stop the Patriots for one play with this vaunted defense with, Bruce Smith and all the players on it.
Well, they did stop.
There's no other players,
and then there was a flag thrown, so they had to stop for another play.
Yeah, you should go one play.
But like Belichick says, Greg, you got to play every single play. Just this same thing came to bite us in the ass when we put Gronk out there on the skip kick coverage, and Miami returned it for a touchdown. So you got to play every single play in the game.
Steve was absolutely correct.
I don't know how these officials are allowed to make those calls.
What do you mean? They get paid.
Wade
to
Phillips
them,
quote.
Imagine that.
Wade Phillips on
Bills
the
coach Wade Phillips doesn't understand. Well, let's talk about that because the Patriots throw it's a touchdown to Ben Coates in the back of the end zone. Great throw by
Sick play.
yeah,
Absolutely
great
perfect
play action.
I mean, Bledsoe to Coates, it's a classic. They
Bledsoe
play
off his
action
back
faked
foot
it.
though, yeah, with a rusher at his feet, tosses it over the into the corner of the end zone, touchdown Ben Coates.
With a fucking
Place goes
broken finger
wild.
too. What a touch pass.
So it's Bills 21, Patriots 23. Game's over. No time left. The Bills just walk off the field. There's still an extra point left to do. And the Bills like, no, we're not coming back out. So fuck it. So the Patriots line up to kick the field goal. But the crowd starts chanting two, like go for two, go for two. And so they snap it directly at Vinatieri, who walks into the end zone for the 2-point conversion.
Oh, you started that, Greg?
I started that chant.
Of course you did.
Good job.
Patriots 25, Buffalo 21. Game.
Question.
And now the Patriots and Bills are tied at 7-5. A couple games back of Miami and the Jets.
What about nowadays? Do they make you still kick the extra point? I feel like it's game over when you score a touchdown, right?
They do, because remember the playoff game between the Saints and the Vikings?
No, they don't make you kick it.
They did. They made them come back out. And so they just like the Saints just sent out whoever the fuck like still was partially dressed and they just like stood there and they kicked the extra point.
They don't make you do it anymore.
I feel like
overtime they don't. But no, it literally happened.
No, there's like a rule of like there's something to do with like if it doesn't change the outcome of the game, you don't have to do it. But like there's games where it's like 1 second left or something that they
I find that hard to believe only because of the money in betting.
I think that's why they changed it.
Greg's right. Having to kick a useless extra point is way harder for Vegas.
Yeah.
They'd rather them just win outright,
Yeah.
Maybe.
Apparently this game was a 3.5 point spread for the Patriots too.
Which is strange.
Really?
No, the Pats are favored by 1.5.
No, I found conflicting reports on this.
Did you?
I found two different sources that said it was the Patriots were favored by 3.5, and that this was part of the reason that they brought back review was because all these bettors were all pissed off because they lost money on this game.
Interesting. Well, I don't think it would have mattered either way, right? If it's 1.5 or 3.5.
Yeah.
No, it would, because the 2-point conversion is what changed it. If they kicked the field goal, they would have won by 3.
But I think the touchdown, regardless, if it's 1.5, the Pats now covered because they won.
Right. If it's 1.5, it doesn't matter. But if the Pats are favored by 3.5,
then
you also got to think that 1998 Vegas lines are probably not as well set as 2022 Vegas lines.
Maybe
a lot more data out there for them to analyze.
That's fair.
That's true.
Yeah, you make a good point. All right, you got anything else you want to do? Best and worst?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right, Greg, you go first. Give me your best and worst.
My best was just enjoying the crowd, being there in person. You can't really put a price on that. It's a memory that I'll hold forever in my life that you guys won't hold in your lives.
Well, Andy, I already went to the Bruins game, so I had no case.
Yeah, stuck with the Red Sox.
Yeah,
98.
Best day of my life, My worst is Sam Gash. He's a little baby.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I bet you wouldn't say that to his face.
Dude, fuck Sam Gash. Come on down here.
He'd still kick your ass.
Am I ticked off? You bleeping bet I'm ticked off. For that official to behave like that, that's just expletive. They cost us the game. What it comes down to is we had something stolen from us and we're ticked off. And apparently he was a big baby about getting cut by the Pats too.
Really?
Or he dedicated the rest of his career to like making the Patriots regret cutting him or some shit.
I get
How long was he on the Patriots?
That sounds like something that
5 years.
That sounds like something that Edelman would do,
He's a
just like or even like a
NFL dude.
Even like Rodney Harrison. That's something he would do. Anything to get up for a game.
I think
that's very Rodney.
Yeah, it does feel very Rodney, right? So, all right, Steve, best and worst.
You go, Andy. I'm still figuring out mine.
All right, my best was that they announced that the special team coach in this game, who the special teams actually I thought did quite a good job, Dante Scarnecchia. That's
No
a fun
shit.
thing. And my worst, outside of Greg getting to go to this game instead of me, which is some bullshit, was your typical Pete Carroll lack of not focus. What was the word I'm looking for? Lack of discipline, I guess. On the last drive, the fourth quarter, the Bills had on defense, they had to call a timeout one. They had to burn a timeout because they had 13. Well, they had 12 men on the field plus 2 running off when the snap was about to happen. And then, like 3 plays later, there was a flag for 12 men on the field again.
Yeah.
And on top of like a couple of pass interference and a couple of just like bullshit like penalties right down at the end, it was just like, I can see why the Patriots didn't keep him. This is the type of coach that would fucking throw it from the 2-yard line with Marshawn Lynch, right?
He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Do you think? With college.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks.
Yeah, you put him right next to Dan Dierdorf, it'd be fine. In the fucking failures wing of the Hall of Fame. Steve,
Pete Carroll's going to go into Pete Carroll's going to go into broadcasting and just torment Andy.
He's going to be garbage.
He's a great broadcaster.
You heard it here now. He's going to be awful. He's going to hear his gumshoe the entire fucking time.
He is.
My worst is actually Patriots special teams, Andy.
Well, go fuck yourself then.
There was that absolute dime punt hit by Tom Tupa that bounced like 3 times in between the goal line and the 1-yard line, and then they downed it, and then the guy who's downing it had his foot in the end zone. So
actually, they showed the replay. The reason they call it touchback because the ball literally bounced on the goal line and then came out. That's why it was.
That's bullshit.
So it was actually almost the perfect punt. Missed it by 6 inches. Tom Tupa, BT Dubs punting.
Yes, that was a great punt.
What else you got?
There was so it's like a 2-play sequence here. All right. It was Robert Edwards trying to go over the pile.
Oof,
Not really his strength, and getting immediately the ball popped out. And then the ball falls into a 1998 goal line pile, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And like, that was just an absolute.
Big boys. It took like 4.5 minutes to untangle who had the ball.
Yeah. It was like, I don't even
the commentators are like, well, whoever had the ball first definitely doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, and look at the referee trying to pull it out.
He lost his hat.
Yeah. They didn't even announce who had it, or they did, and I missed it.
They did eventually, yeah, but it took a while.
Whoever that was, props, because that was an old school fumble pile.
Yeah. And
then the next play was that Robert Edwards touchdown pass, because they're like, well, we ain't gonna run it in with Robert Edwards. So try and it was actually really nice. It's like a recent play design, you know?
Yeah, it was well designed.
Have Ben Code set a little screen for the linebacker trying to cover him, and then run him right across the goal line, and then zip it right to him. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That was awesome. Cool. All right, well, that'll do it for 1998. Thanks for taking the trip back in time with us, except for Greg.
Even further back in time.
Yeah. So next episode, whenever that is, might not be next week. We'll be back to 2004 in the AFC divisional game. Who are they playing, Greg?
I thought we were doing our special edition Roe v. Wade episode next week.
No, we're talking playoffs.
More important things to talk about. 2004 divisional playoff game.
No, we're talking playoffs.
Indianapolis Colts coming to Gillette Stadium.
Ah, the Colts, really?
Yeah, the red-hot, record-setting Indianapolis Colts. So I believe this was their season where they had 3 wide receivers, all with over 1,000 receiving yards.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Peyton Manning's record-breaking touchdown year, right?
Correct.
We've been hearing about this all year about it.
Spare me, okay? I've heard all that before.
Well, you'll hear it all again next time on the Patriots Dynasty Podcast.
Deja vu.
See you later.
Week, dude.
See you later.